Okay.
Okay, John.
Yeah, good.
How's it?
Why can you turn on your camera? Ben, turn on your camera.
Oh, okay. Wait.
No, right.
It shows mine. My camera's on.
No, yeah. You good.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have quorum. Thank you, everybody who had to log in. So thank you. If you have to leave, we can leave now. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, you guys. Yeah.
We needed a quorum to start the meeting. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thanks. Aloha.
Because we're going to lose quorum, we can, as I understand it, do the reports and have people report on things, but we cannot vote on anything. So with that, let me just talk about quorum also. So I called the meeting to order. As some of you may know, the terms of 4 of our members expired on June 30th. But under the statute, we are considered holdover members until such time as the governor reappoints us or appoints new members. So we do continue on. The 4 members that are holdovers is Paul Horner, Noinoi Wong Wilson, Rich Matsuda, and myself. It's anticipated that the governor at some point will reappoint us prior to the next session. But anyway, just to give everybody understanding that the 4 of us are holdover authority members. With that, in terms of the welcoming protocol, I wanted to share something with all of you today. So as many of you know, Haunani Apoliona wrote a song called Alulike back in the 2017, 2015 era. And she also wrote an addendum, which is not widely shared, but she wrote an addendum to give what she says is to provide context and spirit to the lyrics of the mele. So I wanted to share what she wrote as it related to the song. And this is from Haunani back in 2017. From the Native Hawaiian perspective, we are individuals and communities that are interconnected. Our greatest strengths, assets, and success for the good of the whole will be realized if we Alulike Mai Kapo work together in service, not self-service. We are persons working together in collective effort, flowers that never fade but remain vibrant and strong. Our work must be consistently put forward with our best effort and be genuine and true. Our work must strive to be balanced with a proper perspective. When and what we speak must be thoughtful, not reckless or hurtful. As our elders have taught us, quote, look to the source of our strength and wisdom for what can and cannot be seen. Listen well to the source of that enlightenment, what can and cannot be heard. Know that there is a correct time to be still and that there is a correct time to act. So with that sort of context, I think that applies, and I believe that we as a group are living that, and just as a reminder as we move forward, for those words of wisdom. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. No one has signed up for public comments on agenda items. At this point, we're going to move to item 3, which is approval of the minutes of the June 12th regular board meeting. Are there any changes or amendments to those minutes? If not, if I could get a motion to approve.
You've lost quorum, so you can't even approve the minutes.
Okay, so we'll continue on. So for the chair report, I wanted to touch briefly on the federal funding cuts, primarily because it potentially could affect our budget, and our budget, meaning our budget with CMS, and our operations. So as you know, first of all, the University of Hawaii has suffered some major cuts in funding, and I'll circle back to why that's important. But the UH has been very much impacted. Some of the observatories have been impacted as well well, let me back up. The cuts and the proposals in terms of the budget itself are proposals made by the president as to what he believes a budget should look like. Okay, so the things that I'm talking about are proposals that the president has made in terms of what he believes a budget should reflect. The Senate and the House during latter part of summer and in the fall are going to debate as to whether or not they accept the president's proposal or add money back in, cut money in other areas. So there is not a firm budget yet. The discussion that I'm going to kind of have about the budget is what the president's proposal is. So the president proposes, for example, cutting KEP's budget, well, he's cutting NASA's budget, which will result in KEP losing 17% of their budget. The president proposes that the Gemini budget be cut by 39%. The president proposes that the Smithsonian budget, not specifically to astronomy, but the Smithsonian budget be cut 12%. The president's budget does not provide funding for TMT, right? Which the NSF has also said that they're not prepared to fund TMT. Okay, so there are substantial budget cuts being proposed as it relates to many of the observatories. In addition, coming back to the University of Hawaii, the University of Hawaii is going to be financially stressed by the budget cuts. The reason why that's important as it relates to our budget is that the University of Hawaii currently contributes about $1.5 million to the operations of CMS, right? TMT contributes another $1.4 million to the operation, and the observatories as a whole contribute $3.3 million for support services. So the point is if the University of Hawaii, because of their own budget situation, is unable to make the payments of $1.5 million, that means we being us and CMS will be $1.5 million short from UH. If TMT is no longer viable because of the lack of funding, that's another 1.4 million. And I'm unsure at this point how the observatories as a whole will be able to meet the $3.3 million that they contribute. So the point is that we have to continue to kind of watch what is happening with the federal cuts with in mind how that might impact our budget and potential operations. One of the considerations, and we haven't talked to the legislature or members of the legislature, is whether or not the monies that they appropriated to us can be used to make up some of those budget shortfalls. It was not intended when it was allocated or appropriated to us that the money would be used for that purpose. But we will have to kind of continue to monitor that and then make a decision about approaching the legislature to get their concurrence and the governor about utilizing those funds for operations. So anyway, that is what I wanted to kind of discuss and make sure that everybody is aware that there is going to be a lot of financial stress on our budget because of the federal cuts. Okay, any questions about that? I don't know if I was clear enough.
Two questions. Number one, who's leading the movement to lobby or advocate for restoration?
Senator Schatz, I know, is on it in terms of trying to make I guess, provide adequate funds for astronomy.
So he's coordinating all the stakeholders and kind of understanding their position and communicating with them.
I believe that MKSOA walks a fine line. We are not truly advocates for, as I see it, we're not advocates for astronomy, we're not advocates for culture. We're supposed to be the ones that kind of balance all of those things. So I don't think we should be lobbying. However, if the fine line that I see is that if it impacts our operations and our budget, at some point, we gotta figure out, do we take a more active role in advocating that our budget be made whole, basically. So it's kind of a fine line to me.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not suggesting we should. I'm just wondering who is.
The observatories as a whole, Doug Simons of IFA and John O'Mara of CAP have been meeting with the media. I'm not sure if they're meeting, and John O'Mara, I think, is in Washington, D.C. And advocating for the observatories. So there are efforts to try and reinstate some of the proposed cuts.
So that's the second question is, so if Schatz's office is kind of taking the lead on this, then what's our message to them from MKSOA? What's the appropriate message? That the observatories take care of themselves, or do we have any other message? What is our position?
My position is that we need sufficient funding to continue the operations that we're talking about, right? The support services as well as some of the sustainability conservation efforts that have already been undertaken.
Okay, so we just let him know the consequence of the action.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, from the astronomy point of view, I agree with that. Yeah. We gotta keep MKSOA in a neutral position, but able to operate.
Yeah.
And astronomy is making a lot of efforts, not just the folks that John mentioned, but others towards advocating on our behalf. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments? If not, there's nothing to report on governance, and I'm going. So for the administration report, Executive Director John DeFries had to attend another meeting which also relates to MKSOA and Mauna Kea and astronomy. The governor was going to be present at that meeting, so we decided that it was important for him. Other members of the authority also are attending that meeting. So the report at this meeting will be given by Stormont and Lloyd, I think, for different portions.
Yeah, I'll do the executive director, and then Lloyd will give his financial report later on.
You go ahead, proceed.
Okay, thanks, Chair, and aloha, everybody. Two things real quickly. The interim office update. We are in the home stretch. The leasing office at Department of Accounting and General Services sent the package to the Attorney General's office. They have, I understand, reviewed it and made comments back to DAG. So we're at the point where they're finally developing the lease documents for signatures. So we're in the home stretch there. Secondly, we've been working on developing, as you all know, the series of community top story sessions across the island. You already have the schedules, but I'll say it once again. Wednesday, August 13th, will be at the Na'aleo Community Center from 5:30 to 7:30. And the timing is a little shifted from our Waimea meeting simply because the staff at the community center there suggested a little later start for the folks in that community. Wednesday, August 27th, we will be at Kealakekee High School from 5 to 7. Wednesday, September 3rd, at the Lapoihoi Community Public Charter School cafeteria. Wednesday, September 17th, Kahila Town Hall in Waimea, and on Wednesday, the 24th of September at Haleolelo on the UH Hilo campus. Everything is lined up. Our facilitator, Mahina Paishan, is available on all those days for us and her IT team. The Hawaiʻi Alliance for Community-Based Economic Development, or HACBED, team is handling all of the logistics for us. And thank you all for those of you who have let me know your availability for each of those. We've assembled all of that, so that's all moving forward. That's all I have regarding that. The week of the 13th will be very busy. That the morning after the Wednesday, August 13th meeting is the board meeting on the 14th. So just want to make sure that everybody understood we are underway with all of that, and that we are firm with those dates and times across the island for this series of meetings. Again, we wanted to wrap this effort up in time for the beginning of the management plan contractor beginning to go out to the community with community meetings about the management plan, and that's supposed to begin late fall in the November timeframe. So we wanted to have this effort underway and done by the time they got going, so it wasn't crossing over with the community meetings for different purposes. So that's why the accelerated timeframe and schedule for these talk story sessions from the board. And again, as was the case with the Waimea meeting, it will be simply the same effort, where an introduction of the origins of MKSOA, introducing the board and staff, and this demonstrating the effort that's underway with the strategic framework that the board has put forward in draft form and sharing that with the community. That's the main purpose of these upcoming meetings. So, thank you, Chair. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ben, if you might provide a status of the long-term transition working group.
Okay, for our meeting in June, we completed our review of Tranche 3 documents. We're moving on to Tranche 4 and making progress in our July meeting. We should complete the review of those Tranche 4 documents hopefully by September. And again, all of this review does not include the CDOA permits, which we have put on hold for now, pending the AG opinion that we're still waiting for. But anyway, we're making very, very good progress toward completing our work by the end of this year, if not first quarter next year at the very latest.
Thank you. Any questions for Ben?
So then there's 4 tranches, so that you're on the last tranche?
There could be the 5th because that's the CDOA permits.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And Ben, that next meeting is Friday the 18th, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Lloyd, update on consulting services.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, it's still an update. We have some minor issues to deal with the contract document itself. Very minor issues. So it's in the hands of our consultants right now, and I'm waiting for their response to what we had as the contract terms and conditions. One other issue is insurance. We needed them to add some other language in that document itself, and I don't think that's going to be an issue also. Um, I did ask if possible to have them respond by yesterday, which I didn't get, so I will be calling them after this meeting to see if I can get something back from them. So that's where we are on consultant's contract. Any questions?
Okay. Chris, update on timeline and website development.
Sure. So it might be helpful. Good morning, everyone, first of all. It might be helpful if we have a way of pulling up the attachment for the agenda item. This was in the board packet. I believe it's 6D. Pooh, Anna, is there a way we can put that up there?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Okay, thank you so much. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to speak to this to try and make sense of what you see here. So first of all, from a planning standpoint, a day-to-day project management standpoint, we actually have a lower level plan, meaning much more detail, right? But what you see here is a high level plan. And what that means is we're looking at some of the more big milestones, if you will. But it's not all inclusive. And of course, as we forecast out for the next few years, things will change, things will move around. Some of these things will get done earlier and some may get done later. But the main target here, of course, is June 30, 2028. So that's not moving. To make sense of what you see here, at that top band, you have quarter by quarter from a time frame perspective. And then I'd say the first and most important piece is the management plan. So that's in that orange band, right? So in other ways, the management plan really starts to prescribe and lay the foundation for what MKSOA will do and how it will do things differently. So as Lloyd has talked about, the RFP has been awarded. We expect that work to start soon. And that'll take place over the next several quarters in 4 distinct phases. And so as that is sort of going on, underneath that, you have those purple bands there. That's operations. So that's things that MKSOA has to do regardless, right? So it's everything from procuring office space, launching a website, and other types of activities that are required by Act 255. Above that operations band, you have events. So it's sort of just put there that you can see that obviously community engagement is a huge part of what we do. And so in this instance, you can see that regularly we're sort of held accountable here to be out in the community periodically, but also particularly when we're working on something or we have progress, that we're sharing that and we're also gathering input. Now, to kind of skip up back to the top where you have that red band there, that's what we refer to as key decisions. So there are going to be key decisions that are made that affect what is done in the management plan. And so as Chairman Komeji had mentioned earlier in the meeting, there's some funding questions. And that could, in turn, depending on how that all falls out, could lead to the formulation of legislative proposals. So in addition to funding, there are other questions that we still have to deal with, and we'll look at what makes sense in terms of legislative proposals. But we expect, considering when the legislative session is, in the next legislative session, that over the next few quarters, we will be dealing with some key decisions that affect the development of the management plan, meaning particularly giving direction. And so that's how that works out. So again, the key foundational piece here is the management plan. We'll have key decisions in that red band that might affect certain deliverables in that management plan. In the purple band, what you have is ongoing operations for everything that we do. And then once the management plan is done, that's when we can really start to initiate the integration of MKSOA and CMS. And so that's what you have down there in the blue bands. I'll pause there. Any questions? Okay.
Chris, I do have a comment, I think we've shared it before, that this is kind of creates Q3 as 2025 as the start point, but it isn't. You know, we started with the enactment of the legislation, and I think to kind of do a look back, to kind of put our past accomplishments into this context allows for a more thorough report, number one. And number two, it gives lends some credibility to our planning process that when we say we're going to get things done, we get things done. We do it. And you can see not only, but it's not just a promise of what is to come, but really a report on what we've done to date. And we incorporate that into this kind of same instrument. I know we have those bullets somewhere and we share them with the legislature, but I think it's important to tell the whole story.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Neil. And so just as a reminder, this is really the timeline moving forward, not for the since we started. But indeed, I think moving forward, we'll want to be able to have those types of illustrations, particularly for our annual reports, to be able to show the entire timeline over the length of MKSOA. Good call. Any other questions? Okay.
You wanna go to the website development?
Oh, yes. Okay, sure. So website development, I presume all of you are aware that we have a web page on the DLNR website. I call it a web page and not a website. It is multiple pages, but you know, actually, if you go there, it does feel like it's just a page, right? So as MKSOA continues to evolve in its operations, its breadth and scope of what it does, we do need something more robust. So to that end, we've developed a new website in-house. So that's complete. What remains is review from staff and board members, and also perhaps following some sort of protocol with ETS. So in the coming months, we'll start to do that. And I would hope by the end of the year, we'll be able to at least launch a version 1 of the new website. And so just to kind of provide a little bit more perspective on what we mean by more robust functionality, with the future website, not only will we have the type of documentation around board meetings and such that you see on the DLNR website and meeting minutes, but we'll also have the functionality to be able to show future community events. Folks can be able to visit the website and register for future community events. They'll be able to register for notices where they can get notification around notices, things of that nature. We'll also be able to feature certain news articles. We'll integrate our social media with the website, as well as a lot of the documentation at the community events that we've been handing out, such as the strategic framework, that will also be featured on the website and easily accessible. So we'll just have an opportunity to be able to do a lot more with the future website. So in the coming weeks, we'll start to reach out to the board, at least some members, where we can start to begin the process to review it, the draft website that's been developed. But my hope again is that within the next quarter, we'll at least get a new version rolled out. But the biggest dependency here is really just reviews at this point. Any questions on that?
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to finance, Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you very much. You have my financial statement in front of you. I will speak on it on an annual basis since we just finished our fiscal period. We started the year as of July 1, 2024. We had an appropriation of $14 million, of which the governor had a restriction of approximately $291,000, and we also had a $10 million transfer to the Maui disaster fund. So we ended up with approximately $3.6 million. we utilized this year $3.548 million. And we basically gave back just under $60,000. In comparison to last year, I think last year we used just around $550,000 in total. So what we use the funds for, approximately 568,000 was used for payroll, 62,000 for office expenses, various equipment and things like that. Travel expenses, 29,000. The attorney's fees, we dispersed $107,000, but government accounting works that we utilized the entire $392,000 of their contract that was, so in essence, the balance is also reserved for fiscal year 2026 expenditures. We transferred $2.4 million to RCUH, and that should be covering our management consulting contract. Land and Natural Resources assisted us at year end, in which they encumbered another $90,000 for our community meetings with HACMed, and we had some expenses right at the end of the year of about $6,000. So that's how we ended up utilizing $3.5 million of the 3.6 that was available. So our operations have started in essence. Any questions? One more item for fiscal year 2026, we have an appropriation of $14 million. And in total, we have approved 13 positions available to be filled. And I also made contact with Budget and Finance again to assure ourselves that if they're looking to transfer funds out of our budget again, that we should know about it sooner instead of after the fact. So we can have a shot at them not transferring funds out of our budget. Thank you.
Questions about the 2025 budget? Okay, if not, I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director Chun to go through some of the items in the agenda.
Hello, board members. Good to see you once again. Executive Director Greg Chun from Comprehensive Central Mauna Kea Stewardship. Point of clarification, Chair. 2 of our items are action items,
Yeah.
so I know we can't take a vote. Do you want us to go over the material anyway?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have 3 items under our operational update. The first item is Chair asked if I could do a quick primer on the decommissioning process itself. As you know, last week there was an announcement regarding the UCUR telescope, which is a UH-owned telescope that is funded by the Naval Observatory. The process itself is both convoluted and complicated as well as simple, and I'm going to try to sort of simplify it as much as possible. We go to the next slide, please. So Our comprehensive management plan includes a number of sub-plans. And one of those sub-plans is a decommissioning, site decommissioning, a decommissioning plan. That was developed originally in 2010 by our predecessor, the Office of Mauna Kea Management. In that sub-plan, it outlines the process that observatories would need to follow in order for a facility to be decommissioned. And there are a number of flow charts in there that show you sort of the number of steps and the relationship between each of these steps in the process. I won't go through everything that you see here. This was in your board materials. But this first figure 1, basically outlines the process from the beginning of the notice of intent being issued and what happens with that through the development of the site deconstruction and removal plan and site restoration plan. Sandwiched in between there is the environmental due diligence, the Chapter 343 requirements that the observatory would need to comply with. So there, what you see there is the steps that we would go through with the observatory to get to the point of having a site decommissioning, deconstruction and removal plan, a site restoration plan, and a remedial action plan that would then be presented to the Department of Land and Natural Resources, OCCL, for a conservation district use permit. So that's the first sort of front end of the process. You go to the next slide, please. So figure 2 details the other permitting requirements that could come into play or do come into play, just depending on the complexity of the project, that the facility would also need to go through. This includes, you see on the right side, more detailed sort of steps of what's involved in getting a CDUP, a Conservation District Use Permit, approved. But in addition to that, there are county and other state permits that can come into play. Some of these are under the jurisdiction of the Department of Health. Some of these are under the jurisdiction of the county. So everything from building permits, grading permits, cesspools, septic removal permits, NPDES permits, grading, grubbing, et cetera, et cetera. So the process, once a conservation district use permit is approved or issued by the department, typically the other state agencies don't want to issue their permits until the CUP is completed. So that's sort of the complicated picture of all the steps that need to go through. And that's not even getting to the point of actual deconstruction work yet. So could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So this is the simplified version according to my own thinking. It starts with the notice of intent. The University of Hawaii will be issuing a notice of intent sometime in the next couple of months for the announcement of the UCURT decommissioning. That goes through its own review process with the university along with all of our advisory groups, and will come to this body for review as well. What the notice of intent basically details is the stated intention to decommission the facility and some general information about the background on the facility and then why this decision is being made at this time. Once that happens, there's an RFP that has to be issued. In this case, it'll be issued by the university or IFA. And that RFP is to develop a planning or to engage a planning consultant and to help with the conservation or the site demolition and restoration plan, the removal plan, the site restoration plan, and a number of other elements required in decommissioning. Once that's completed, then it'll go through the Chapter 342 review process. Typically, that would be an EIS for a project of this magnitude. And then once that's completed, an application for a conservation district use permit would be issued or submitted. And then once that's approved, then you get into all of this other permitting that might be required depending on the project. Essentially, from the NOI through other permitting, you're looking at approximately a 2 to 2.5 year process. So you don't get to the actual deconstruction work until all of that is completed. There will be an RFP at that point, or probably sooner, issued to find a contractor, a general contractor, to actually conduct and manage the decommissioning, deconstruction process itself. And then that process, depending on the site, could take 6 to 9 months, depending on weather conditions. That could actually stretch out over a whole year. So it's not a quick process necessarily. We were fortunate with both CSO and Hokukea that we were able to avoid any extreme weather, and those projects got done relatively expeditiously. After the decommissioning and the site restoration, there is a requirement that the operator conduct 3 years of site monitoring to determine what's happening with the natural flora, fauna, and other elements of the site. So some people have asked why university is announcing this because at this time, because the UKERT still has a couple more years of funding before their funding will cease. It's because all of this other work needs to occur now, or can occur now. So that's why the announcement was made at this time. That's a summarized version of the decommissioning process itself. Are there any questions? Yeah, Neil.
Yeah, Greg, thanks for this complicated. It doesn't feel like much of this is under our control.
Yeah, once it gets into the agency hands, a lot of it is not in our control.
So there's not, if we wanted to shorten this or whatever, I mean, this is out of our control. This really just helps us manage our expectations.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fair way to say it. I will say that because this is a decommissioning project and not, building a new facility or something like that, I think our limited experience thus far is that the regulatory bodies will look forward to try to expedite this if possible.
So I have a question, Greg. Under the existing agreement where, those projects that make changes are classified under A, B, and C, would this not also fall under that scenario and at some point come to MKSOA board for?
Yeah, actually, I neglected to point out that at every step of the way, there will be a review by all of the bodies, including MKSOA. So like you folks will have a chance to review not just the NOI, but the site decommissioning plans, the Chapter 340T draft EIS, all of that stuff, the conservation district use application, everything.
Okay, because I didn't see that. I didn't see that on the schematic.
Yeah, I was trying to keep things as simple as possible.
Okay, well, maybe that answers Neil's question or concern about where do we as our board or authority intersect with this process at all.
So under each of these boxes that you're seeing on this particular slide, there's a whole bunch of review, consultation, engagement that has to occur.
If you go to the previous slide where it had the one more before that, right there. there's a part where it says on the left-hand side, OMKM Environment Kahukumana, and that would be the area where, right after Mauna Kea Management Board, we would put you folks into review. So that's kind of, so at every section, there's that review process, and so that, since this is old, we'll insert you folks there. And same on the other side, you see the other side has a kind of the same Environment Committee, Kahukumana, Mauna Kea Management Board. So before it goes beyond Mauna Kea Management Board, it'll come to you folks for review, and then if it needed to be amended, it goes back up for amendments.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving on. Okay. So the second item, which does require approval, but I know that we won't be able to do that here today. But we'll go through the project proposal for the IRTF geotechnical analysis project. I'm sure many of you have been wondering who Chris Yamasaki is. He's been online. Chris is the site manager for IRTF, and he is available here today to answer any questions on behalf of IRTF that the board may have. I'll quickly give a summary of the project, and then we can open it up for questions. So the IRTF is located on Pu'uhauoki, and it's experiencing site erosion. It has been for a while, and more recently, when we had Tropical Storm Hone, experienced some significant erosion on part of its site. This project is, the proposal is to take some core samplings of the underground composition of the substrate to determine and help them figure out what would be the best mitigation measures they might that they would need to implement to prevent any further erosion. I think one of the best way for me to describe this project is if we could just pull up those photos that are in your packet. Anna?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I extracted two photos from the proposal itself to help explain the project. So here you see a photo of IRTF, and there, just to the right of center, below the building, you see a dark area where there was some significant erosion as a result of Tropical Storm Hone. What that has done, and over time what has happened, is that a lot of that slope has sort of eroded back, is that it's caused some real challenges for them with accessing their site. Can you go back to the first photo? Yeah. So if you look at the left portion of the building in the photo, that's where you come up and park in their parking lot. And then that little gravel area that goes around this front or side of the building and around to the back is how they access that back warehouse door. That's how they remove their mirror that they have to remove and have it recoded from time to time. That's also how they access their facility for any kind of major maintenance and repair. That side of the building is also where their septic system is, and so frequently the septic vendor has to come up and pump the septic system. And so that road that goes around that side of the building to the back has slowly eroded and becoming more difficult for them to service and get access to that back area. There have been some temporary mitigation measures that have been taken by our utility staff to try to prevent that corner there from eroding even more. But those are clearly only temporary. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is an aerial shot. It's not as clear as we would like, but it's the best we had. What IRTF is proposing to do is to take 2 core samples. So you see them marked there in B1 and B2. These samples would be 4 to 6 inches in diameter, 8 to 15 feet deep. And the purpose of that would be to determine as best as they can, or learn a little bit more about the composition of the substrate that would help inform what kind of mitigation measures would be most appropriate. So that's the nature of the project itself. This project does fall according to Hawaii Administrative Rules 13.5, which is what OCCL, Conservation District, is guided by. Is classified as a data collection project, meaning they would be collecting data to help determine the requirements for their mitigation, but that does involve some disturbance to the natural resources because of the coring. So as a result, a site plan approval is required. We'll be seeking that, and we therefore classify this as a type B project, which is in our agreement, project that you folks would also approve. The project has been reviewed by the Environment Committee. They, as outlined in the proposal, they wanted to know whether the contractor might be able to determine whether some of the erosion is being contributed to or caused by drainage off the pad itself running down the sides. So their assessment will provide some recommendations in that regard. They wanted to know whether the boreholes would be filled with the original material. That is standard practice. We did reply that it is a project condition that the material be replaced into the appropriate core. And they also made a suggestion. One of our environment committee members, Don Thomas, is a geochemist and hydrologist. They made a recommendation as to whether he might want to sample and archive the core. We did reach out, and Dr. Thomas declined the offer. He said the depth of the cores probably weren't going to be useful for his needs or interests. At the Kahukumauna meeting, one question that they asked was whether this was going to extend the lifespan of IRTF. We explained that it did not extend it beyond its operations until beyond the 2033 lease that they currently have. And they also noted that they thought that this would be a good information for us to have as we look at needing to address erosion issues on other parts of the Mauna. Mauna Kea Management Board reviewed it last week and approved it and recommended moving on to approval from their perspective. So that's the nature of the project. The mitigation and conditions of the project are listed in both the proposal as well as the project description. We have Joy here along with Rodrigo and Chris online. If there are any questions, and Nahua, if there are any questions about the project itself. Yeah, Noi.
So I just have a couple questions. One is looking at this photo that you have up. What is the difference between the darker colored soil and then the lighter brown soil that's below it? And in the core sampling, does it pierce that? And does it go, I can't tell what the depth is. So is it the core sample go down below the darker area into this strata that's light brown?
So Chris might be able to answer some of that, but the core sampling will go until it hits solid rock, and they're estimating that that'll be 8 to 15 feet. That's the idea behind the core sampling. Some of the difference in color that you're seeing has to do with the fill material that was used to grade the site, but also the what you don't see in this view, kind of a view, is the slope. So some of it is due to the slope. But I don't know, Chris, if you want to comment anymore, or even Bill, I know you were up there. For Rodrigo.
Yeah, so the sites listed B1, B2. To answer that question, I guess talking about the difference in the tone or the color of the soil, I would expect that they're going to go through the darker layer, which would be the topsoil, and go into the next colored layer. But again, I'm not sure at what point, what depth they will hit a stopping point. They do have a maximum drill depth that was mentioned by Greg, but if they reach a stopping point sooner, then that's where they stop.
So you're able to explain to me why there's why the soil is different color? Like, is that a flow? Or
I think what you're seeing, the lighter color, is the recent basically runoff. And so if you look at this, the first picture, if you bring up the other picture, I think that that shows it a little bit better. It has that lighter color. It's just that topsoil coming over the side and with the erosion, I would say, right?
Yeah, so basically what you get is some of the exposed soil from Tropical Storm Hone. As the soil is, or the cinder is wetter, it will change tones and colors. As you remove the upper layers, you expose a different tone of cinder below it. And then when utilities came back and added some backfill material to restore the eroded areas, they took soil of cinder from the same area and put it there. So you're gonna have some difference in tones when you remove some topsoil and when you add some new backfill to it. There was no material brought up there from off-site. It's all locally moved in.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Greg, does our failure to mount quorum and approve this today, does this compromise the project in any way? Or
It does delay it a little bit, but if we can get it on the next month's meeting agenda, that would be very much appreciated.
no need for a special meeting or anything like that? We can handle it with our regular business.
Chris, you want to comment?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this was mentioned, but we had 2 quotes that was given to us. I solicited from 6 different engineering firms. 2 replied that they're interested. The other 4 said at the moment they have too much things going on. So the first quote, the one that we're not pursuing, wanted to dig 4 trenches about 10 feet long and about 2 feet wide. So that would, because of the amount of disruption on the surface, we decided we'd like to go with the less invasive route. And going back to the quotes are good till September, the beginning part of September. So if it goes beyond that, I might have to ask for a requote again.
Okay, so hopefully we get it done in August.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll put this on as an action item at your next meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Okay, then the next item that we had, that I know you won't vote on today is the debris removal plan. You have the draft of the plan, in your board materials. I'll just, say a few words about it. One of the, management actions in our comprehensive management plan, called IM5, calls for us to develop a debris removal plan and monitoring plan. And this plan had been developed by a predecessor Office of Mauna Kea Management and had been in draft form for a little while. And with everything that we've been working on, we only recently was able to get to it. So what the purpose of the plan is to address, develop and implement a debris removal monitoring and prevention plan to comply with IM5. It specifically targets the management of anthropogenic debris, which is basically human-caused waste, which includes solid waste, litter, trash, or trash within UH managed lands on Mauna Kea, as well as the 19-acre Halepohaku parcel and the 70-acre Summit Access Road corridor that we have an easement for. So what the plan does is outline in more specificity what we do and will be doing on a regular basis to both remove trash, monitor trash, etc. Obviously, the purpose of this plan is to ensure that the historic, cultural, natural, and scientific resources of the Mauna are preserved. I think the plan is fairly straightforward. There are a couple of maps at the end of the document that show the areas that the plan covers. And I think that's helpful for people to envision what our folks actually are doing. I should say that we've been implementing this plan even though it has been in draft form. Couple of things, it is to note, I think it's figure 2 in the document, shows you that there is an area that the plan covers that is not in our UH managed lands, and that is the area, yeah, that one right there. That is the area that the trail that goes out and around Pu'uhaukea and then out to Lake Waiau. So our rangers regularly hike that trail. Those are DLNR managed lands, and we assist in monitoring Lake Waiau itself, as well as removing trash that they find along the way. So while this plan technically is only supposed to cover our managed lands, we do incorporate their lands as well.
And we also incorporate, the rangers do make, probably once a month, one ranger will walk down the Humola Trail, which is again in the Natural Area Reserve, and pick up trash off the trail.
So in that photo that you're looking at, the Humula Trail is that blue line. The plan, as I said, is pretty straightforward. There's a number of recommendations outlined there. I'd like to just open it up for questions.
Before you open up, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one thing. You will notice that the construction debris is very small in that area. Each project has its own debris plan for construction waste. So like when we had the CSO decommissioning, they had a separate debris plan for all of their waste coming off of that particular project.
So before we open up for questions, we had one of our staff, Bill Stormont, take a look and review the plan. plan as well as actually, he visited the site more for the prior project, but he visited the site yesterday. So I wanted him to give his, I guess, recommendation or what his findings were before we open it up for questions.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just will offer that I have reviewed the plan. I know that it's been a long time coming, and it has been in parts of it have been in place for many years now. They are already acting on it, as Greg has said. You may know I get up to our Hawaiʻi office a couple of days a week, and when I do, I get there for the daily 7 o'clock briefing with the rangers each morning. And each day, rangers get an assignment on a stretch of roadway to do rubbish pickups and monitoring. So it is being done on a daily basis. Also, historically, there have been big sweeps done in the past where the observatories, and going back to early Mauna Kea Support Services days, they do big sweeps with people around the summit region, picking up a lot of construction debris that had blown off the summit, and other comments about pieces of apparel that had flown off the summit because somebody get the jacket out of the car and the window picked it up and it's gone. All that kind of stuff has been going on for some time now. This codifies it, is in compliance with the comprehensive management plan. And I was particularly interested in the aspect of there are some military aircraft that had gone down in the past. There's still debris within the science reserve, and they are working on a plan with the military to work towards getting that material out of there. And it's kind of dovetailing perhaps with the county's new ability with a higher elevation aircraft to be able to operate at higher levels. So all that underway, codified in this plan. I am pretty impressed with it, frankly, and I would recommend approval when the time comes.
Okay, so you can open up.
Yeah, questions? Yeah.
So, sorry, I didn't get a chance to read it in advance, but does it change any of our current practices at the observatory in terms of how we take, like we take in covered loads, et cetera? Anything new we should know about? Okay.
No, it's all of the practices that you folks have been doing that we have implemented through the CMP is going to remain all the same. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So just to give an example, Keck recently had a construction project, and I think you guys got to see that. We made sure all of their dumpsters were covered. They had covers on everything, so that was part of what was part of the CMP and part of what this debris plan covers.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just also add that the wind is a culprit in a lot of these situations. People are very, far more conscious than the world is far more conscious of it now than ever before. But the wind can be really problematic up there with debris. Folks might have something in the back of their pickup truck going up to the summit that they thought they had secured adequately, and it's not. It's just that kind of thing. That's that kind of environment. But I just wanted to add that.
Any other questions?
So we'll put this on our agenda for the August meeting also for your consideration and approval.
Okay, that completes the operational update. There was exploring joint management under GMC, exploring co-funding opportunities. All I can say at this point is that's a conversation we're having and have been having, and as John mentioned earlier, we're exploring how that might work. But understanding that you folks may have some needs to get clarified on what exactly you can do with the monies that are allocated to you from the legislature.
So this item, it's not ready for discussion, but it's basically combining this idea about funding, which is becoming more, it's critical because of the federal funding cuts, with how we transfer or co-manage. So it's two different issues that are suddenly kind of being blended right now. But it's still very premature to start. They've started the discussion about different models, and at some point we hope to bring different models as well as how the funding gap may be filled and what that means in terms of the management moving forward. But just have on your radar that in fact, those discussions at the Joint Management Committee are, and different scenarios are being discussed, but they're not ready for prime time basically yet. Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you, Greg and team. Appreciate everything. Sorry for not having the quorum to vote on the issue, but we'll make sure that both of the action items will be on our August
Thank you.
meeting. Okay, anybody have the need to go into an executive session to have any consultation with our attorney? If not, announcements, you've heard about the proposed schedule for community meetings. Our next formal meeting of the authority is August 14th, same time, same place. Any other announcements? If not, do we have to adjourn? I guess we should have a motion. Well, we can't hold on.
We're stuck forever.
Okay, well, meeting adjourned.
Bye now. Thank you.
Thank you.